Welcome back. This time I'm going to make over this chest of drawers with some gorgeous Mint by Michelle decoupage paper called Romantic Roses. And then I'm planning to do some fabulous paint blending using the Mint Mineral paint. First, I want to tell you that I originally made this video for a Facebook reel. That's why it's in portrait mode and there is a lot of text on the screen. But I'm going to actually talk you through exactly what I'm doing. So to paste, I'm using a top coat. It doesn't matter what top coat you use. Top coat I find is just the right viscosity. I find glues really gluggy and they just saturate the paper. Then what I'm using to push out all the creases and the wrinkles is a felt applicator, which is a plastic card with a felt on the tip, which is really soft on the paper. But I also use the plastic there that you see, which is actually part of the plastic bag the paper came out of. The combination of these two really help to protect the paper and allows me to be quite rough as I'm trying to push the paper into the corners of the drawers and around all of those edges. You might notice that I mist the paper occasionally. The misting, not saturating the paper, the misting of the paper relaxes the cellulose in the paper and allows it to stretch a little bit. And what that does is allow those creases to be pushed out even more. The other thing I should mention, which is so important, is to only work small sections at a time. The paper will react to your water-based products, so it's easy to just push out those wrinkles and creases as you go in small sections. You will have such a fabulous result if you follow my instructions. If you're maneuvering your paper around corners like I'm doing here, the best thing you can do is mist the paper. Like I said before, it allows it to stretch a little bit because those cellulose fibers have been relaxed. It does become a little bit more delicate. There may be some tears, but we're going to fix up any tears with paint. And paint is your best friend when it comes to little tears, little rips. Don't worry about them. They are all totally fixable. Have you noticed that my edge is actually jagged? Well, this is because before I applied the paper, I actually tore that edge. I always tear the edge that I'm planning to blend in. A torn edge is so much easier to blend in with paint than a straight cut edge, and you'll see why later. I like to use a spray varnish at this stage to seal the paper. It doesn't reactivate the paper because it's not water-based, and it also protects the paper from any vigorous paint blending. I decided, because I could, to put a raised stencil on the side. I love blending over texture, and this just adds a little bit of added interest to the sides because they were just a bit square and boring. I'm using a non-brand texture paste for this. And here she is, all ready for mint mineral paint blending on the sides. I'm using mint grey lead as a base, and I'm using a sponge to apply it. Actually, I'm using various sponges to do all the blending. There's not one paintbrush used in this blend. I had decided the mineral paints that I wanted to use: Time and Space Black, Grey Lead, Riverbank Green, Stoneware Clay, The Sound of Rain, and Woolen Jumper. And I've actually just put a whole lot onto one sponge and just blended it in. I mean, this is just the first coat. I just wanted to get something on to cover up the edge and try and match into the paper colour. So it all looks a bit random at first, and tell you the truth, the whole thing was a bit random, but it just worked out really well. I love using these sponges. They just blended in the colours so well, and they create a bit of texture as they go. And the good thing to realise when you're using Mint by Michelle papers is that every background has a different effect. So sometimes this style of blending works really well with the decoupage paper. Sometimes you need to use paint strokes, but I found with this particular background that the sponged in random style all over the place just created this smoky appearance that worked perfectly with this paper. Here now I'm just touching up some of the floral detail on the paper that was wrapped around. It's a little imperfect, but imperfect is perfect to me anyway. On the other side, it's a lot lighter, so I've used a lot more of the light grey, which is called The Sound of Rain. Then I come in with some stoneware clay, and then later you'll see I'll add a little bit of riverbank green, and I'll play around with these colours a lot. And like I said originally before, it's very random. I didn't want this to be a perfect blend, and I'm really happy how it turned out. And if you're doing this project yourself, you could just play around with the colours. It's a matter of mushing them all together with the sponges. Most of the time I'm just using one sponge. I did tend to change from one sponge that had all the light colours and then another sponge that held all the dark colours. and I did miss a lot in between the colours to just make them melt into each other a little easier. I would just keep an eye on the other side where the paper was, just to make sure that it was all flowing nicely. But I found this whole experience quite cathartic. I totally enjoyed doing this. I had no idea where it was going, but just adding the colours and blending them in, mixing the water and making the colours move together, it was a fabulous experience for me. And I just wanted to let you know that it's so easy to just experiment with paint, because literally it is just paint. So I am coming in with some Time and Space Black here, just give it a little bit more dimension, mixing it in with some Riverbank Green and a little bit more Stoneware Clay. Just, as I keep saying, it's very random, but I'm trying to create some kind of ombre effect without it being too perfect, because I wasn't after a perfect blend. I wanted it quite random, and adding some colours here and there and some highlights as I'm doing now it just keeps adding to the dimension. Now I'm using Annie Sloan's black wax to add a little bit more dimension and even more of an aged effect. You can use this as random as you like, and because this paint has a built-in top coat, there's no need to add a clear wax beforehand. You just brush it on and wipe off the excess as you need, just to get the perfect effect that you need. Here's all the colours that I've used to achieve this magnificent, very random blending. But can you spot the edges of the paper? That's why this paper is fabulous. You cannot see where the paper ends. It's like the whole image is just wrapped around. I'm so pleased with this. If you'd like to see more of my work, please follow me. Please subscribe. Thank you for watching.